This is Joe Basso with Music Radar, the place for music makers, and I'm sitting with Dave Keuning, guitarist for The Killers.
Hello.
Dave, how are you?
Pretty good.
Before we talk about the new album, I'd like to do a little history here. When did you start playing? At what age?
I started playing at 14 years old. I was actually grounded, and I was bored, and I bought a guitar for $40 off a friend. And, to like everybody else, I just tried to figure out Smoke in the Water.
Right.
And then, I tried to figure out Aerosmith songs and AC/DC songs, and it just grew from there. And I spent just hours in my bedroom trying to learn songs and practice. And I think I knew early on I just loved playing guitar.
Aside from AC/DC and Deep Purple, what kind of music turned you on, and what guitarist per se?
Angus Young was my favorite, and still to this day is a guitarist I respect a lot. He's a great guitar to get started on. He's using guitar to the most, that should be used. But not everybody has to play like him. Like I don't end up sounding anything like him, but my fingers learned a lot from him. Then when I was in high school, I kind of shifted into a grunge phase.
Okay.
Right around, Nirvana, Smashing Pumpkins, Soundgarden, and stuff like that. And I was really, really, really into the Smashing Pumpkins. And I remember I had a 5-disc CD changer in my room, and I would make like a big set list of like 5 Smashing Pumpkins songs in a row, then 4 or 5 Nirvana ones, then some more Smashing Pumpkins ones, and then maybe a few, of somebody else, and I would just play them all in a row and just try and play along to it.
So now this was in Iowa, where you grew up.
This is in Pella, Iowa. Yeah.
Obviously, most bands don't come from Iowa, aside from Slipknot, I guess.
Aside from Slipknot, that's about it.
You had to go somewhere. What made you decide Las Vegas?
It's an interesting story. I went to college for a little bit, and I tried to get some bands together there. I wasn't actually played bass in one band because no band can ever find bass players.
Right.
So I ended up just saying, I'll play bass for you. And that was about a year during college, and then they were a little older. They graduated and moved away, and I ended up dropping out about a year later, and then I just worked. I always wanted to go to California, so I saved money, and I worked like 60 hours a week to save up this money, and then finally I just looked on the internet and I just couldn't find anything. I kind of just settled on Vegas. It was like a third of the price.
Right.
And I just wanted to get the heck out because I just kind of given up on the idea of moving to LA right away, and I said, well, I'll move to Vegas instead. It's close to LA, and I had been there one time for about a day, and I thought it was a pretty weird place, and it was kind of intriguing. So I thought, well, I'll check it out. And I moved there. I put out an ad in the weekly, like a little, thing to try and start a band. And I think everybody I've met, one way or another, was through the weekly.
Wow.
Because I met my first girlfriend that way. So we were in a band, and it was me, my friend Dell, and Desiree, and then that was the first band. And then after a while Dell quit, and then it was just me and her, and she ended up being my girlfriend, and that kind of sucked up about a year of my life.
Okay.
My first year in Las Vegas, it became from a band to a relationship. And then after we broke up, and I'm still on good terms with her, but she's moved away to another city, and after we broke up and she moved, I decided to put out another ad.
Right.
And then Brandon answered.
Okay.
So, and then that was better. Moral of the story is don't get involved with women in a band. Some money in the band will get involved with her. It just always happens every single time.
Now, when the Killers really formed and sort of the direction started taking place, as a guitar player, did you balk a little bit at sort of the new wave direction? Did you want to play in more of a heavy type band?
No, I was going that way. I forgot my timeline actually. After the Smashing Pumpkins, then I kind of started to drift into new wave, and New Order and Duran Duran, and I was already going that way.
So your head was already there.
Yeah, and the funny thing was, actually, there was a great 80s radio station in Las Vegas, and the 80s station was all I would listen to, and I started that was the kind of The Cure.
Right.
It was a band I was also getting into, and even in the previous band I was in, Desiree, she was heavily into the Smiths and what was her favorite band again? They're from England. Suede.
Oh, okay.
All she listened to was Suede and David Bowie, and she kind of helped me a little bit too, get into that, go down that road. But I think I was open for anything, and I think me and Brandon didn't even know what we were going to sound like. We didn't really discuss it. We just played, and that's what came out. is Mr. Brightside and Under the Gun and all the other stuff on Hot Fuss.
How surprised were you at the reaction to Hot Fuss? Because it seemed you guys just really exploded in the way that most any band would love to.
I don't want to sound too, arrogant or whatever, but I just always believed in that record and our songs if they were given a chance. I just thought if they're given a chance by radio or a record label or somebody to let the world know they exist, that I thought that people would like them, and they did. And I think part of that was I was just so, before I even met Brandon, I was just so disgusted with what was on the radio that I really believed that if I could write better songs than what was on the radio. I believed it, and now our songs are on the radio, so I guess I was right.
Sam's Town, which I think is a great record, did the reaction sting a little bit, or were you prepared for it?
It did sting, there's certain magazines that put it down more than others. Mm-hmm. Some of them were based in New York, and I don't think it was fair. I just think that if people who were out, some people were just out to get us, and they didn't. If we would have stayed exactly the same, they would have butchered us. Right. We went a little different, so they butchered us. You would have been called
formulatic.
Exactly. It would just have been the same thing. But that's the music we wanted to make in 2006. Yeah. So that's the music we wanted to make at that time, and it changes year to year, and that's we're being ourselves, and that's all you can do in this business, really, if you want to stay true. I still thought it was just as much The Killers as the other album, and when you were young, that's all. Mm-hmm. That's all part of us, and so it hurt a little bit, but in the end, I think that we kind of won. The album did very well in Europe. I think it actually, certain parts of Europe, it exceeded Hot Fuss. Right. It's just certain areas that are hard to win.
Well, sophomore albums can be hard. It's funny. Where my question's going to go, but you too had a lot of flack with the October album.
Oh, sure.
And but then look what they came back with.
Well, even their, it took them like 4 albums to get to Joshua Tree, I think. Yeah. And that's really like their landmark album. So, I've thought before, if certain bands, if U2 were out today, they might not have even got to Joshua Tree. They might have been dropped or, butchered up, but it's a different time nowadays.
How big of an influence is The Edge on your playing? I do hear it.
He's a big influence, and I envy him in the fact that he's got a sound, and it's just one of those things. It's like, why didn't I think of that? But he came out, like 20 years before me, so I didn't get it. Like cool tricks with delay and stuff. It's just you do anything with delay now, and mm-hmm. everybody says The Edge, but it's just like, well, I'm allowed to use delay. Come on, people. It's not fair.
Right. Did he influence your choice of equipment, of guitars and pedals?
No, not necessarily. He uses Vox AC30s a lot, and I went out and bought one of those because of him, but I ended up not really liking it as much. It does. I like it. I didn't. The one I bought didn't sound as good in the studio as other amps that I had, and they're not reliable